This one game we call One Big Question. Teams with new head coaches. So, Neek, what is your one big question for them Dallas Cowboys?
Is who's going to fall on the floor from the ring cam for them? Because it feels like I want to know if the window is closed. There's been a lot of bad decisions. Somebody need to call Jerry Jones and tell him to fall on the floor so we can excuse these bad decisions that led them to the situation that they're in. The one thing that they do well normally is draft well. It hasn't worked out in the past couple of years, but traditionally they draft well. So they have a chance right now to draft well and replenish this team. But that's the big question: is the window closed?
D-Wood, your big question for the Raiders.
They're going to draft Ashton Genty at 6. You know, Pete Carroll comes in, he wants to establish a culture. We know what Pete Carroll wants to do. Pete Carroll wants to run the football, play defense. Obviously, they traded for Geno Smith. I think a running back's going to go high. I think this will be a great landing spot for a guy like Ashton Genty.
Kevin, give me your one big question about the Chicago Bears.
Have they fixed the offensive line enough for Caleb Williams to be Caleb Williams? I think Ben Johnson's a really good play caller. I've spent some time with him. I know the floor is going to rise, but nothing is going to happen unless they have a good offensive line. We saw what Detroit's offensive line was able to do to all of their skill guys and their quarterback. I'm just hoping the 3 big changes they made, and I think it will. Drew Dalman's a really good center. Joe Thuney, I think, is one of the best pressure pass blockers in like the last 7 years, something like that, statistically. So I think you're going to see a huge floor rise really quickly.
You're talking about offensive line. Do you believe that's what went wrong when you talk about Caleb Williams' development?
Yes. I think they came into last year with, in hindsight, the dumbest plan I've ever seen for a rookie quarterback, because you have a player who has one flaw, and that's holding on to the ball too long. And what do? You pair him with an awful offensive line. What's the result? The most unblocked pressures and unblocked sacks for any rookie quarterback since Next Gen Stats started to track that 7 years ago. That's all you need to know. All of a sudden, they come in, they put legitimacy in the trenches. This is going to let him be himself. He had so many errant throws last year. There were so many different things. He wasn't driving the ball down the field. He wasn't Caleb Williams. Now he gets to be, because the front office took that seriously.
Okay, so based off of what he's saying and all the additions they've made here in Chicago, what do you think is at stake for Caleb this upcoming season?
All the excuses have been taken away.
Yeah.
That's really what all this is. This is where all this is going. When you go out and get put the pieces on the offensive line, you got the weapons on the outside, perimeter pieces. It's all for Caleb. There's nothing else that you can. It's all on you. If you don't make it, it's because of what your play has been, not because of the head coach, Ben Johnson, or the offensive line that we put around you, or the weapons we have. This is going to be all on this young man. So I expect to see a
They got the skill guys. Remember, they built up the skill guys last year.
Well, it's interesting because, Neek, I know you're optimistic about the Bears. Tell us why then.
Yeah, I think not only is my work acquaintance Kevin Clark right about them putting together a roster that's going to support Caleb Williams, but they also have a really good defense. And the defense is going to take pressure off of him also. Like, we want to focus on all the weapons that'll help him. But the fact that defense will keep them from having to trail and come back from 2 scores in the second half will take pressure off of them. And presumably, while we want to be excited about Ben Johnson's play calling ability, he prioritizes the running attack. And they're probably going to end up getting a good explosive running back in this very deep running back draft. He'll find ways to take pressure off of Caleb. So I think you guys are right. There's going to be a lot of attention on Caleb, but I think his job is going to be so much easier than it was last year.
Nick believes they'll be a playoff team. We'll see. Waiting for Aaron Rodgers is
desperation. Like Nick said the first time, clearly the Steelers are in wait mode right now for Aaron Rodgers, because quite honestly, what is out there for the Steelers besides Aaron Rodgers? And clearly Aaron Rodgers, there are not many suitors for Aaron Rodgers in this market right now, especially when you have the NFL draft coming up. So I think both of these participants are in desperation mode, because we know that clearly the Steelers haven't won a playoff game since 2016, and Aaron Rodgers wants to try to finish his career on the high note.
All right, Kevin, Travis Hunter. He should prioritize playing what?
Cornerback. I know Neek earlier said wide receiver because you can't scheme around cornerbacks, stuff like that. You can avoid them. But for me, this is supply and demand. Every year we have a handful of elite wide receivers coming into this league. Hell, LSU is bringing like 3 of them in per year. Just take the best LSU guy available every year. But with cornerback, there's just not those elite guys. I would prioritize that and build a package on offense.
Nick, best fit for Shedeur Sanders is blank.
Pittsburgh. I think that D. Wood said earlier in the show, like sliding in the draft isn't always bad. The situation matters a lot, and I think that's one of the better situations that does not have a quarterback. Assuming they get Aaron Rodgers, he'll get some time to develop a little bit, and while they build up that offensive line and that running attack, and he can take over in a couple of years with that defense that seems to always be good no matter who's there, with a coach that's stable and that you can trust. So I like that as a setup for Shedeur Sanders, and maybe also for the Steelers. They need a quarterback like that they can trust, that'll make good decisions. That's the thing that they've missed, is a quarterback that can consistently make good decisions and can stand in the pocket and take a hit, which is something that Shedeur Sanders definitely can do.
Let's live here for just a moment, because for most of the time we've heard about Shedeur going as one of the first 3 picks. If we're talking about the Steelers, then that means that's the 21st pick. That means he's had to slide here. First of all, is that a good fit for Shedeur Sanders, talking about going to Pittsburgh?
It's a very good fit. And for me, the best scouting advice you can hear is from Bill Belichick. Tell me what a guy can do, not what he can't do. He said that one day about Damian Woody a couple of decades ago. Tell me what he can do. But what we know Shedeur can do is he can throw an accurate pass. He's really good under pressure. And those things are going to translate to the NFL almost immediately. This is a win-now roster. I would sign a veteran. I would sign an Aaron Rodgers type and give Shedeur a year in the system to learn the NFL game. The Big 12 to the NFL is a big jump. But what Shedeur told me a couple weeks ago was he'd rather go to the best fit than go number 1 overall. We don't hear that a lot from a quarterback, but guess what? I believe him. This could be a very good fit. I still like the Raiders as far as Geno being a bridge quarterback. I think that could be a better home for him, but I would love this Pittsburgh situation.
Oh, do you think sliding would be good for his career, Dave?
Absolutely, because you tend to see the better franchise, the more stable franchises in the back half of the first round. I mean, we cited a couple of examples when Kansas City went up to get Patrick Mahomes. When Baltimore Ravens traded up in the first round to get Lamar Jackson, you just clearly see, though, when you have those type of franchises, a stable head coach, ownership, those guys are able to put their best foot forward as far as establishing their career.
Nick, how do you explain then the Shedeur slide if there is going to be one on draft day?
Yeah, I know a lot of people want to point to the fact that it's his confidence or cockiness or something about his personality that's scaring off teams. I don't think that's it at all. I think that's just completely fabricated. No one in the NFL is afraid of people who are cocky. Everyone, except for the number 1 overall pick, believes they should be drafted higher. And so I think Shedeur is the only difference between him and other players is maybe he's more outspoken about it. I think the slide is probably more a result of the measurables and the I guess traits that he has. Like, he doesn't have a super strong arm, and we're focusing a lot on his completion percentage, when that, I think, is not a trait as much as it's like a reflection of a number of things. And one of those things is that he throws a lot of short passes. Not that he's not capable of attacking down the field, but a lot of his completion percentage is made up of like RPOs and screens. So I think it's hard for NFL front offices to wrap their mind around selecting a guy who doesn't have the most obvious traits, particularly when you look at the quarterbacks that they're matching up against. Most of them, like Lamar, Patrick, Jordan Love, Josh Allen, like those guys have jump off the screen traits of his arm strength or athleticism. Something like that jumps off the screen for you. And Shedeur, despite being the son of one of the best athletes of all time, he doesn't really have those type of traits.
Serious noise coming out of Dallas and from Miami that the Cowboys are about to swing for the fences and trade for none other than Dolphins superstar wide receiver Tyreek Hill. According to Bleacher Report and insiders close to the situation, here's the proposed trade. Dallas receives Tyreek Hill and Miami's 2025 fifth-round pick, number 156 overall. Miami receives Dallas's 2025 second-round pick, number 44 overall, and a 2026 fourth-round pick. Now listen, I know giving up that number 44 pick stings a little. That's prime draft real estate, but we're talking about Tyreek freaking Hill here. The guy is still in his prime, still one of the fastest and most dangerous weapons in football. He's not just a deep threat. He changes the way defenses play against you. With CeeDee Lamb already doing work and Jake Ferguson emerging at tight end, imagine adding Tyreek to that mix. Bringing in Tyreek would immediately put pressure on the rest of the NFC. The Eagles just reloaded. The Niners are still monsters and the Lions are coming fast. If we sit back and build through the draft, we're going to get left behind. This would be the boldest move Jerry Jones has made since the Amari Cooper trade, maybe even bolder. It tells the league and it tells U.S. fans that Dallas is serious, that Dallas are not just trying to compete, Dallas are trying to win. This ain't about participation trophies, and for Dak, this is the final test. No more waiting, no more maybe next year. If you have Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb on the field at the same time and you still can't get it done, then it's time to have a whole different conversation.